PLO 10 Zoom. Obviously, because, for the last couple days, people have been asking me what's my opinion about PokerStars introducing the ante to these games. And I didn't have an opinion. I spent quite some time thinking about it today. And eventually I just thought, why don't I just go play and find out? Theoretically, I expect people to play slightly looser pre-flop. Also, one thing to watch out for is, are people going to be potting, or are they going to have a different open size? So there's a bunch of things that we're going to look out for today. Oh well, my main goal is to find out what does this ante add here? Does it really make a difference? Why am I interested in this? Well, it came to lower stakes Zoom. I'm just curious what's going to happen. Because it might also be in the higher stakes Zoom. It's not a big deal for me because I'm not really playing the Zoom games very often. But theoretically, it could have an impact on the whole sort of economy of PokerStars. And so that really affects me, and I'm interested to find out. Double gutter. Tens are occasionally good. He bets into 3 people, or into 2 people. I think giving up is fine. Now, one thing that antes change, obviously, is once people start opening for pot, stack to pot ratio is much lower, and oh well, I'm just getting it in here. Don't love the situation, but unfortunately our backdoor flush draw is dead. Which is kind of sad news. Well, we sucked out anyway, so 25% happened to happen. So that's the worst sentence I ever said. Well, probably not. Said worse. I smoke rocks, asking a good question. If I think that antes introduced at the very lowest stakes make the games more or less unbeatable. Zoom 2. So, yeah, the Zoom 2 is basically going to be pretty unbeatable for everyone. Well, is Zoom 2 gonna be really becoming unbeatable? I don't think so. Here's what I think. I mean, first of all, if there's any Zoom 2 pros out there, well, you guys have a hard life. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's pretty hard to make a real living in Zoom 2, right? So for regs, are there really any regs in those games, right? Any serious regs? I'm not so sure. So this is not really affecting the reg population. These people are mostly recreational players. I mean, in Zoom 10, sure, there's going to be regs, and they are affected. But Zoom 2, not so sure. Now, if we think about what the antes do, sure, the rake cap is going to be reached quicker. But the thing is, if people don't adapt, I'm just going to let this one go. If people don't adapt properly, so basically, the people who are going to adapt to the new blind structure, they're going to benefit from it directly and indirectly. Their win rate is supposed to increase, I would assume, right? Because, well, now people are just going to make more mistakes, costlier mistakes, etc., etc. So yeah, the rake is increasing theoretically. Is it really increasing by all that much, or are we slightly overreacting here? But more importantly, the game changes. So what is a good strategy changes. You're supposed to play looser. You're supposed to defend your blinds wider, and all those things. So for people who are actually going to be able to do the adjustments, their win rate actually might increase. On top of that, because the premise that the PokerStars is suggesting that introducing antes is going to make the games more fun for recreational player. So if that's the case, are we going to see more recreational players coming into the games? If so, then I mean, obviously the games become more profitable. So I don't think it's just, an equation of, rake is going to be higher, because it's not going to be higher by all that much. And all the other aspects are more important. By the way, so let's take a look back at that hand where we had an easy bluff on the turn. I don't think my opponent should be leading very frequently on this turn, yet he did. And obviously we had just about the perfect combination to punish him. Jesus, I can't get a break here. I want to show you the hand. Well, anyway, let's just move on. Beautiful flop. Obviously. Set plus redraw. Really happy about that. Deuce, thanks for following. All right, well, looks like there's a party. 80% equity, that's pretty good news for us. And quads, all right, first quads of the day. These aces with the SPR that high, I'd rather try to get this guy to do something creative. He didn't. Now we're going to have a decision to make on whether we want to check raise. I'm going to check raise turn if I get a chance. If he checks back, it's not a big deal. We have a lot of potential for the future. So yeah, let's just check raise now. Notice I chose pot size as the raise size. I'm just being lazy right now. I have hotkeys, so that's what I'm using instead of using a slider. People can also give you bits with Twitch money. That's also awesome. GTO commentator, hey, Henry Kilbane himself. Thank you for joining in. Your mom said she loved the podcast. I'm happy to hear that. I was actually thinking about how are your parents gonna, what are your parents gonna say about it? Because you've mentioned them on several occasions, and how supportive they are of what you do. And I thought, like, when they hear some of the stories that we discussed, what's going to be their opinion? For those of you guys who don't know, we published the episode with Henry Kilbane, the podcast episode with Henry Kilbane. We published it yesterday. If you haven't checked it out, I highly advise or encourage you to go check it out. It was so much fun. It's very different to what I normally talk about, because normally we talk about mental game, etc., etc. This one, we just went into some obscure topics, rigged games. Henry shared a lot of his stories from private games in New York and some other stuff. And there's also educational value there for sure. Now we're a bit too weak here to get creative. Well, that's one way to play this hand. Just flop the quads. See what happens. Now, obviously, I could allow people to catch up. That's probably my best bet. I also block the straight draw So it's going to be pretty hard for me to get paid unless somebody fills up. So, I mean, with 5 people on the flop, it's quite likely that, somebody improves to a better hand. If he has 8s already, it doesn't really matter what we do. All the money is just going in at some point. If he doesn't have 8s, then obviously it does matter what we do. And we're better off slow playing as we are right now. Yeah, let's try to extract some value from ace-x type of thing. If he has 8s, again, he's just going to raise, all the money goes in. And that's great news. He's unlikely to have aces, obviously, because, he had plenty of opportunities pre-flop to raise. Okay, 10-7. 10-7 deuce-deuce. A lot of dubious plays pre-flop, I have to say. A lot of creativity, unnecessary creativity, and, well, people get punished for that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's try to find a bet size that's like 1/4. Oh, 1/5 actually. Let's go for 1/5. Roughly. We don't need to be very precise with that. Okay, now we have the clubs as well. SPR is 1, so we can definitely check and get the money in on the river. Now let's do it, because I'm not folding if he ships himself with his king high. And one thing I could have done is bet with a smaller sizing, but I'm just trying to maximize what I make against smaller flushes, because obviously we had the third nuts, and it's good enough for me. Yeah, people don't value bet enough in these games. That's my first observation. And David, thank you for following. Now, speaking of value betting, definitely want to put a value bet here. Let's make it 18 cents. No big reason. Just feels like a beautiful sizing. My birth name is saying Poker Stars fast forward pool looks really bad compared to Party Poker. Can I make a session on Party Poker in the future? Sure. I can make a session on Party Poker as well. Do I see a chance to get Patrick Antonius for the podcast? I see a chance. I don't know if that's going to happen. I haven't reached out to him. I can. I've reached out to a lot of interesting people, and yeah, Patrick Antonius would be awesome. Would be interesting. I haven't thought about it before, so I should definitely reach out to him. Okay, ace is no good. Do we at least chop? Nope. Wait a minute, what happened there? What am I misreading? Of course, Jesus, I didn't see that I won the first one. I just saw his trips. Oh well. Hit the reel saying it gets tricky to play against a full table of bad players compared to just playing with 1 or 2 bad players at the table. Well, obviously the difference between, on a personal level, the difference between playing against good players and bad players is that with the good players, at least you have a better idea of how they think and what they're doing. With the weaker players, oftentimes your ideas are completely wrong. But you just need to adapt. You just need to... Yeah, I'm just basically adapt. I don't know what else to say there. Crappy open-ender, but yeah, let's play it. Oh wow, how about that flop? How about that flop? Now my nines, I just want to show them down. Sure, we might be able to fold out some 10x, but yeah, definitely would have been able to fold out that 10x. Now we have a full house. Queen 10 is still obviously crushing, but what are we gonna do about it? Okay, so apparently Queen 10 is on the cards. I mean, I'm not just gonna fold just because he says he has it, because he has 10s. Apparently, he thought raising with a small sizing is the best play. Like, this is one example where it's hard to understand what people really think. But, well, it worked out for us this time. All right. I feel like it's a good place to go for a check raise. He's gonna bet slightly too much here, slightly too often, I would assume. I mean, he might prove us really, really wrong. He does, and let's go for it. In fact, we can just pot it here, because we're so deep that we can just get away with pot, pot, pot. Well, 7 is a good card for us. It's going to slow him down a bit. Well, it doesn't slow him down one bit. And unfortunately, with the hearts out there as well, now I think we don't have the equity to call anymore.
And it's a limped pot. I'm in the big blind. I look down at pocket sevens and I check, and it comes 7-3-3. So there's only like €8 in the middle, whatever. Small blind checks. I check. Now almost 100% sure this game is rigged. And all of a sudden it just goes there. Re-raise, all in. I'm in the big blind of sevens. It's 7-3-3 on the board, and I just fold. Just fold pocket sevens. And it goes all in, all in.